The question is, and it is there on X at 1080 The Fan for you right now. It's pinned to the top of our X account. What is the hardest thing to do well? Play quarterback, switch hit, shoot the three ball, or play golf?
Oh, man.
Now, the reason I asked this question is, one, I want to tee it up for Joey Harrington later because I think he's done all of those things.
It's Division I football!
At a pretty high level. And then JT Snow of the San Francisco Giants. I don't know how big of a baseball guy you are, Dave.
Oh.
I do hate the Giants.
Well, we're all united in that hatred. JT Snow said recently that switch hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports. And I thought about that, and I went, I don't know that that's true. And then I thought, playing quarterback's got to be the hardest thing in sports. And then I thought, well, my God, golf is hard. And then we added shoot the three ball, which, by the way, is getting blown out of the water on this poll. That one of these things is not like the other. But anyway, that's what we're asking Joey today, and that's what we're asking you. So vote and vote hard on X at 1080 The Fan. I'm going to guess it's probably play quarterback. But if you look at the number of people who do those things at the highest of high levels, you only have 10 to 15 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
You have maybe 25 to 30 guys in golf, because I have a buddy who played on the Korn Ferry Tour who once told me, he said, any tour you're on, the PGA Tour all the way down, every one of them has 20 to 30 guys that are just better than everyone else, and then from there everybody else is swimming in kind of the same pool. It's all just, do they get hot? Do they make putts? So, you have at the highest level of golf, you have maybe 20 or 30. You have my line of demarcation for the three-pointer is over 40%. This last season, there were 40 guys who shot the three over 40% in the NBA. And then switch hitters, I mean, I had to do some digging on this. Ellie De La Cruz, the kid from the Reds that everybody loves, he's a switch hitter. Francisco Lindor is a switch. Of course, Adley Rutschman is hitting from both sides of the plate. Jose Ramirez of the Guardians. And I can't think of many other really good switch hitters in baseball. It might be that JT Snow is right and it's switch hitting.
I saw your poll when I was kind of doing surfing the interwebs before I came on here.
Impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, and I voted instantly
on
quarterback.
Yeah,
that was my first thought.
Me too.
But right now that you think about it, it's like, what is really the overall hardest thing to do consistently, right? And we're talking about hitting a baseball.
They say that's the hardest thing to do in sports.
Right? I would say hitting a baseball that's moving is a little tougher than hitting a golf ball that ain't.
I think that's right, but the flip side of the golf argument is, if all you have to do is have tried to play golf to know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And it is the only sport or activity or game, whatever you want to call it, where the ball does not move. You have to move the ball every time. So that makes it unique. Golf's just shockingly hard.
Right. And your surfaces, your angle, you got balls below your feet, above your feet, sand, grass, fairway fringe,
weather,
all of it.
All
right?
on you.
Wind, everything.
All on you.
Yeah.
Now, I would say that golf, you don't have to have any sort of major physical traits to play it at a very high level. Quarterback, you do. I mean, you have to. I mean, like, I could never have played quarterback. I can't sling the ball like that.
Right.
Of course, I'm sexy enough and smart enough to play the position.
Right. Well,
but my physical traits.
You didn't need to say that. We all know that.
Oh, yes.
Rhetorical statements on the show already.
No, and then switch hitting is interesting because I see where he's going with it. It's like hitting a baseball is like the hardest thing to do. And these guys are throwing faster than ever. And now you have to do it well from both sides of the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody's ever tried that, I mean, have you ever tried to swing a golf club the other way or swing a baseball bat the other way?
Right, go Mickelson mid-round.
It's impossible. You look like an idiot.
Right, I hook the ball every time. So when it's dogleg right, I'm going lefty. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. No. So what do you think on second thought?
On second thought, I think it's really intriguing. I mean, I don't have an argument against it.
Switch hitting.
I guess for everybody listening, one of my questions would be, what did you miss? What could be out there?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
You got quarterback, you got golf, right?
Mhm.
You got switch hitting.
There probably is one more.
What is
Hockey
out
goalie.
there? Yeah, right. I was thinking like hockey. Shutting a team out in hockey. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if hockey goalie.
You can't just get a big fat guy and throw him in the crease.
No, I
That's
know.
not how that works.
But is it the hardest thing to do well?
Consistently.
Yeah, because I mean, like, aside from Martin Brodeur, pretty much every other hockey goalie the last 10 to 15 years, they've been hot, and that's why they've won a Stanley Cup, right? Like Quick in LA, he got really hot 2 playoffs in a row, and he was able to win his titles that way. But the rest of the time, he wasn't as hot, so he wasn't able to win as much. That would be my feeling.
Well, let's use Steph Curry. Somebody brought up Steph Curry on the Vancouver 4 text line.
Yeah.
He can play golf. He does it pretty well.
Yeah.
Not at the highest level, but he's really good at it. He shoots the 3 better than anybody ever. Could he play quarterback?
If he developed through that process and his body was for that, it's hard to say. This goes back to the athleticism we talked about at the top of the show.
Yeah, you could just he could
Right?
just go to the
It's like
Matrix.
you've met these guys
Grade 'em
though.
out.
You've been around enough of these athletes. These guys can do anything. It's just their path that they went on in their life.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Right?
That's the whole thing. What Suke always talks about, like if all the American stud athletes played soccer, we dominate.
Right.
But
You
they
know,
don't.
No,
That's not what we do here.
right. And it's fractionalized with a ton of different sports. You have a basketball body, you got a football body, you got a baseball body.
Yeah.
But could all of these guys interchangeably, if they had a different path in life, end up somewhere else
Great
as a
question.
professional?
Great question.
Probably a lot of them.
I think a lot of them could, yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
If Steph Curry was
But not
playing
all.
golf his whole career and his dad was a PGA professional with that athleticism,
I don't know.
I think
I
the
don't
one
know.
thing we're missing in a lot of this, though, is even though I'm talking about athleticism, the greatest paradox for me as a data guy is the mentals.
Yeah, right.
The mental makeup
How
of
do
a
you
professional
quantify that?
athlete.
Yeah.
That to me defines the difference between a true pro and a guy that has pro ability. It's what's between the ears.
100%.
And I mean, that's why these NFL teams, that's why, they're doing brainwave tests on these guys to see if it matches up the right frequencies
Yeah.
to be an
and
NFL
you can,
player.
I'm sure in these interviews and stuff, like the combine or whatever, you can say all the right things to convince a GM that you've got it between the ears and you're a competitor and you're this and that. I don't know. I don't know that you can ever truly measure that. That would be, you want to talk about $1 billion idea? Come up with that, Dave.
The psychological aspect of it. Well, that's why we started working. We have the coaching side and we started working on the athleticism side. They already have a lot of athleticism stuff internally.
Yeah.
But the psychological stuff, that's something that the media never talks about, mainly because you're never given access to it. That is an enormous piece of the puzzle that you and me never see, right?
Right.
There's no psychological combine that we're ever going to see because
Yeah, but they test it though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're in there grilling those guys.
Yes.
So what do you think is the biggest, from your experience working now with the NFL,
Mhm.
what do you think is the biggest marker for what is between the ears of a professional athlete? What do they look at most? What do they want to hear most?
I haven't dug into that stuff because
that would be
your
fascinating.
psychological profile is your whole life,
Sure.
right?
Of course.
Did mom and dad get divorced? Is dad in prison? Did dad die or mom die? Or how many siblings do you have?
What
How many
motivates
times
you?
did you move? Right? And so, I mean, the list of psychological profiling on trying to get that professional mind, I think that's difficult.
Yeah, it's like if you sat down and Michael Jordan, was coming out of North Carolina and entering the NBA, and you were, the Blazers.
Yeah.
The Blazers were looking at Jordan. Sorry to bring that up, but and they ask him, I guess put it this way: how many guys, if you interview them and you're like, wow, I think this Michael Jordan kid really has a killer instinct.
Yeah.
How many guys also in that draft would you think have the same killer instinct when it turns out he was one of one?
One of one,
One of-
right? For that
I mean,
decade. Generational.
that-
He was his generational
Yeah.
player.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kobe had a little bit of that. I think Tiger Woods certainly has it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's unhealthy, right? Like it's like that's how you measure it. is how unhealthy their relationship is.
How
with-
psychotic is
Yes.
this guy to win?
Yes.
Right?
Do they want to win or do they not want to lose so bad that it consumes them? And that's really unhealthy. I know I don't have that because I've been around enough people that have that to understand that I don't have that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a fascinating question about athletes.
Yeah, I was talking to one assistant GM about a particular player. I believe it was Levon Kirkland, linebacker at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
And his psychological testing, it basically came back is whatever this guy, and this is the kind of guy they're looking for. Whatever he decided to do in life, he happened to end up on the path of NFL football, pro football.
Right.
It didn't. They said it didn't matter
Didn't
what
matter.
he did.
Yeah.
It was going to It was.
He's so
I
focused.
am putting my foot down on the pedal until I see the checkered flag or God.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
just.
There's some people wired.
Yeah.
that way.
It's just unbridled OCD on that moment.
Right.
That's the guy they're looking for.
Yeah.
But-
how many of the guys have that?
Right. Exactly.
And how does the Matrix measure it? That's the $1 million question.
Oh, I wish I had access to that kind of
That's
stuff.
super
But then,
cool, though.
then I'd go down a rabbit hole that would just never
Yeah.
end.
Right.
I'm happy with what I do now, but it's interesting starting to peel some of those layers back as you get more information. But boy, there's a lot that they do that you and I never ever see.
It's quite a science. All right, AAA heating and cooling poll question on X at 1080 The Fan. What's the hardest thing to do well? Play quarterback, switch hit, shoot the three, or play golf? Vote hard.